Alright, if you were unable to use Photopea for this current assignment, what you are going to do is use Google Drawing. So this is another alternative for a basic way to work with shapes and colors and a very basic layout. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and access your Google Drive, go to Module 6, your assignment files folder, and you're going to go ahead and create a Google Drawing. And this is going to save it directly into that folder when you add it that way. Go ahead and title this one Color Wheel. And once we have finished titling this, you're going to go to File, Page Setup, and we're going to change the position of the document, making it into an 8.5 by 11 inch image file. And then once you have that completed, we're going to go ahead and instead of it being a transparent background, we're going to right click the background and change it to a solid white background. Now, the next thing we're going to do is create our color wheel guide. So you can either click Insert, go to Shape, and then go to the Circle tool, or you can click directly to the icon that shows the shapes and click on the circle tool. So we're going to go ahead and draw a circle. The nice thing with the Google Drawing, it has guidelines for you, not like Photoshop or Photopea where you make your own guidelines. It just mainly has things that shows you where center is and how you can relate shapes to other shapes, which is a nice feature that it has. So the circle, we'll go ahead and make it a 6 by 6 circle. So we want to make sure that it has a 6-inch diameter. And I do make sure that I lock the aspect ratio just so it's always the same each time. The next thing we're going to do after making sure that we have a 6 by 6 circle, we're going to go ahead and center it. And then you'll see these red guidelines that appear automatically just to show you where center is. So we're going to put it right in the center of the page. We want to make sure that the fill of the circle is transparent. So go ahead and click on transparent. So the fill is the bucket, the paint bucket. We're also going to add 12 smaller circles that are going to represent each color of the color wheel. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag a circle. I'm going to double check and make sure the size is 1 by 1. So I'm going to change that to 1 inch by 1 inch. And then I'm going to go ahead and center it. Now I do have to eyeball part of it. I mean, it'll give me my vertical center, but not necessarily the center on the circle itself. I'm going to go ahead and click it, do a Control C, Control V to copy and paste another copy. So I'm going to have one that's directly across, one that's on the left hand side, on the right hand side, making sure that it's lined up. And then I'm going to have 2 in between. So this is the part that gets a little bit tricky as far as eyeballing the spacing. But once you have a good idea of how it's spaced out, then you can use the guides to make sure that they match each other. And that's the one thing that Photopea did not do. Photoshop does do this, but unfortunately Photopea was not doing that. So I'm just going to take a look, make sure that it's spaced fairly evenly. But once I have at least the top half completed, it'll be easier to match the circles on the bottom half. Alright, so now that I have the top half completed, I'm just going to go ahead, continue pasting extra circles. So notice there's extra guidelines that show up that I can match with these circles on the top half. just to make sure everything's nice and even, and it'll look um, pretty much with the same spacing all around, which is nice. So once I have this done, we're going to move on to adding our colors to each circle to represent the colors of the color wheel using hex codes. Okay, so I have this done. The first one I'm going to go ahead and choose is the very top middle circle. And for the top middle circle, we're going to start off with the color yellow. So we're going to go to the Color Hexa website. In the search bar, we're just going to type in yellow, press enter, gives you the hex code, copy it, and then we're going to click the fill button and change the hashtag to the code that we got from Color Hexa. So from here, we're going to go ahead and create a text box because we're going to go ahead and add the name of the color and the hex code of that color. And that's what you're going to do for each color of the color wheel. So here I'm going to go ahead and type in yellow, but I want to make sure that I center it. The only thing that I didn't do throughout this video that I forgot to do was make sure that it was also centered inside of the text box, not just aligned, but actually put in the center, because it has that option and I didn't do that. So I apologize for that. If you figure that out, it'll be a quicker process to be able to continue copying and pasting a text box throughout the entire color wheel. Okay, so once I have this done, I'm just trying to set it up to make sure it looks centered. But like I said, there is the option to automatically center that, which I did not do because I did not look for that, and I apologize for that. So that's why I'm resizing the text box. Alright, so once I have that centered, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click the next circle here, and I'm going to type in yellow green. So for this video, I'm going clockwise, and I'm going to go with my next color, which is yellow green. So I entered that in the color hexa, copied the hashtag code, go to the fill bucket, click custom, change the hashtag to the yellow green code, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this text box so that I don't have to recreate a text box every time. It's just quicker to copy and paste. So I'm going to type in yellow green this time, but notice it did change the layout of the text box, so I'm going to have to move it a little bit so it's centered. But always make sure to put the hex code for the color that you are working with. Okay, so don't forget to do that. The reason for this is because we are going to use these codes for the next few assignments that we will be working on, and I want you to be able to quickly use your color wheel as your notes in referring to these different hex codes when choosing specific colors from the color wheel. Alright, so we're going to continue in this fashion, this time working with green. I'm copy and pasting the text box, placing it over your color here. So anytime you create either a new shape or a new text box, it's always going to be on top of whatever the previous object you've created. Okay, so kind of like how you would do layers in Photoshop, whatever is on the top layer will appear above everything else. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. The only bad thing with this, it doesn't show your different layers, but this is just a simple way to work with an easy tool for making a simple layout. So yeah, go ahead and continue. So we're going to work with, we started with yellow, going to yellow green, and then green, blue green, and then blue, and so on and so forth. So we're going to continue in that fashion. What's going to happen later on in this video, though, as you will see, is once we get to the bottom half of the color wheel, the colors are going to be a little bit darker. So what you're going to need to do is change the text to a white font instead of working with the black font, so you can see what the text is, because it's a little bit difficult to see, especially with the blue, violet, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you're going to continue with blue. Copy and paste the text box, place it in on top of your color that you just created. So I'm just trying to make sure to use the guideline just so it's directly on top there. Changing the name of the color. So here I have blue. Copy the hex code and then paste that on. But like I said, when looking at the blue, you can't see the text. So make sure to select it. You want to choose the text color. So it has the letter A with an underline on it. It's usually the underline is the color of the text. So if you choose white, obviously you're not going to see that underline, but that's how you're going to change the color of the text. All right, so just go ahead and continue in this fashion. The last thing I'm going to talk about here is the color violet. So when I go to the, so I just did blue violet here, but after working with blue violet, when you go to the Hexa website, make sure that you type in purple instead of violet, because it doesn't come out the way that the purple that I want you, or the violet I want you to work with. So once again, when you go back to that hex code website, when you get to the violet section, type in purple instead. So that's the one that's directly across from yellow. All right, so go ahead and continue in this fashion. Now that we've completed all of the colors on the color wheel, we're going to go ahead and create another text box for the title of our assignment. So I'm just going to click and drag a rectangle at the top. I'm going to make sure it's centered, and I'm going to click that again and make sure it's centered inside of that text box. I'm going to type in color wheel as my title and then type in my first and last name. But what I want you to do is go ahead and make the title larger than your first and last name. So I chose a size 24 font. You want that one to stand out more than your name, so you can choose another font if you like. So whichever one you want, as long as it's a nice bold font. So I think I like Roboto better, so I'm going to go with Roboto, and I'll just use that font for the entire page here. So I'm also going to change that for my first and last name just because that's what my preference is, but I'm fine with you using whichever font is available. So there's more information that I want you to type in the bottom. So go ahead and copy and paste that text box that you created. So just Control C, Control V, and then you're going to move it to the bottom of your page. And just a few notes that you're going to go ahead and type in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that information that I typed in there. So what you're going to type in here, you're going to type primary colors, and then you're going to list the 3 different primary colors. So we have red, yellow, and blue. You're going to go ahead and type in the secondary colors. So what we have here, we got orange, violet, and green. And then the last part is talking about the rest of the colors. So basically the rest of the colors are part of the intermediate colors, or also known as tertiary colors. So once you have this all typed in, what I want you to do next is make primary colors bold. You're also going to make secondary colors bold, and the last line of information, make that bold as well. So you can either click the B at the top, or Control B will also make your font bold. Now that we have that completed, we're going to go ahead, and this is already saved in your assignment files as long as you follow the process at the beginning. But I also want you to save it as a PNG. So you're going to click download, and I want you to download it as a PNG. If you are unable to do that, just go ahead and submit the file that was created through Google Drawing, because it is a different file. But I prefer that you submit a PNG because it's easier to see through Canvas, because Canvas doesn't always show the Google Drawing, unfortunately. But yeah, just go ahead and submit that. I'll have to look for another option as far as how to be able to view that in Canvas. But like I said, if you're unable to download it as a PNG, just go ahead and submit the Google Drawing. All right, so our next assignment will most likely be another Google Drawing, and we will be working with color scheming.